Hi, my name is Chris McCrae, and I'm recording this from the upstate of South Carolina. However, today I'll be talking about laws and regulations in North Carolina governing the process of informed consent. Um, I'll also be talking a little bit about the ACA Code of Ethics in regards to informed consent outside of the section that is there specifically for informed consent, just to let you know about some of the things that I found that I thought were important. And I'll be discussing a professional disclosure statement form that I found from a counselor from a counseling practice in Black Mountain, North Carolina, and discussing that in the context of the ACA Code of Ethics as well as North Carolina law. So I'm not going to go over what the ACA Code of Ethics says about recommendations for informed consent, because I'm sure that you've all read it. And I'm trying to make this video as concise as possible. But I do want to pull out a few different things that I found that I thought were interesting outside of that section related to informed consent. For instance, Section 8.6 explains that informed consent can be used as a tool to create boundaries. One thing that we can use it for is to state clearly what our relationship is and what it can be. For instance, I can have a section that says I can't be your friend on Facebook because I'm your counselor, or I can't see you outside of this office because. So it can set boundaries and really set expectations when we start that counseling relationship. Section B 2.D discusses the role of informed consent when the courts order confidential or privileged information. I thought that was interesting, and I paid special attention to how it said we should limit the amount of information to protect our clients as much as possible. Also, Section F really talked about the relationship between supervisors and supervisees and the role of informed consent in those relationships. I wasn't aware that was even a consideration. Now I know. That's interesting. And also, finally, the last thing that I want to discuss is informed consent used in consultation found in Section D.2b. It says that we should use informed consent if we're acting as consultants. So I thought that was interesting. That's one thing I hadn't considered. So in North Carolina, there's a few different categories of professional counselors. One is an LPCA, which is the first step to obtaining your license to practice independently, and an LPCA means that I'm being supervised. I'm not fully able to practice unsupervised. Those LPCAs have to create what's called a professional disclosure statement, and it has to let people know that they are LPCAs. So once the nature of the license or disposition of that license changes, you have to provide a new professional disclosure statement. So if you become an LPC, or the other category is LPCS, which is a licensed professional counselor supervisor, a new disclosure form has to be created, and also a copy of this statement has to be provided to clients at the beginning of this the counselor relationship. A few things on the professional disclosure statement that North Carolina added to the ACA's recommendations were in the credentials section. The disciplinary degree, for instance, for us, or for me anyways, Master of Arts in Professional Mental Health Counseling, the year received, and the name of the institution. It also has to have the name of the supervisor and the disposition of license. So saying, hey, I'm an LPCA. Number of years experienced, and procedures specific to registering complaint in the state of North Carolina. So Vanessa Pickett's professional disclosure form I found to be interesting. She met all of the requirements in accordance with the ACA Code of Ethics and missed one with current laws, but the document's 10 years old, so um, I think that's probably why. I think the law might have changed in the past 10 years, or maybe my understanding of it's wrong. Um, but one thing that she did that I thought was interesting was she said she used this phrasing when describing counseling. Counseling is not easy to describe in general statements. A visit to a counselor is not like a medical doctor visit. Counselees are empowered to be active participants. I apologize. Um, so she describes the work during and outside of sessions, and also talks about the scope of work to include diagnosis with the DSM-5, but also non-clinical work, helping people work through common life experiences. So I found all that very, very interesting. She also had a statement to parents about minors and a request that if a parent wanted to terminate the counseling relationship, if they didn't agree with her methods, um, or they had a disagreement on what the counselor should uh, tell them regarding the sessions, that she just asked for a few sessions to close the relationship. Also, another thing that I thought was really neat in there was after hours emergency section, um, where this particular practice has a counselor on call, and people can call, but it also says that they should call 911. The one thing that I found that didn't match with the North Carolina statutes was the fee structures, the North Carolina code, so that you had to say how much each different type of session cost, and that wasn't explained. It just said we bill insurance, and you can pay with cash, credit, or debit card. Um, so that concludes my presentation uh, on the professional disclosure statement that I found, and the ACA and Code of Ethics regarding informed consent, as well as North Carolina's laws. I hope you all have a great day, and I look forward to speaking with you in the future.